Ladies, good evening and welcome
Hello.
to the Professional Women's Group. I love seeing your faces. Thank you so much for having your cameras on. And so we are going to go ahead and start with our mission statement tonight. And so if you can just, repeat after me, but you don't unmute yourselves, but be with me in spirit. The PWG comes together to network, encourage, support, and inspire each other to thrive in the workplace and in life. We are committed to creating a welcoming environment where we refrain from judgment. We treat each other with dignity and mutual respect. We are open to the possibilities and ready to have fun. Woohoo! Wonderful. Well, since we have figured out how to do breakout rooms, this is going to be for the next 10, 15 minutes. We're going to be going into breakout rooms where we are going to have a topic of discussion. So by all means, if you can put up so that we can see your face, that would be great. And so that we can discuss today's topic. So today in your breakout room, if you could please discuss one thing that you're willing to commit to for the next month, an act of kindness. One thing, just one. All right? Ready, ladies? We will reconvene in about 10, 15 minutes and our breakout rooms will happen now.
Okay, good, because I have.
Still remains to be unfinished business until disease is eradicated. A goal that is now within reach.
Ladies, if you are still in our general room, we have breakout rooms going on right now. You received an invitation. Please click on the screen to go into your breakout rooms and have a conversation. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us tonight. The ladies who are still here in the main room, we did assign you into a breakout room. If you would like to, you can click on that link and go have a conversation with your fellow PWG members.
Yes, right? Because it's so often, especially for those of us in the helping profession, we forget that the first person we need to help is ourselves. Right? And for us women, it tends to be a difficult thing. So if you chose to be kind to yourself for the next 30 days, bravo to you. Awesome. Well, ladies, I will hand it now to our fearless leader, Amra. Amra.
Absolutely. So welcome to the February PWG meeting. I am so thrilled for tonight's meeting. We have a wonderful group of ladies that are going to present for us. Please, if everyone can put their on mute, please mute yourself so that we can save this presentation for our ladies from the job store. We are honored to have them with us. They have actually been supporters, sponsors, volunteers of Dress for Success Denver for multiple years. What is truly amazing is last February, in our very last in-person meeting, we had the job store present. So this is kind of an annual thing where we'll have to get Julie and her crew to present for us every February, and fingers crossed, next February, it will be in person. And so I would like to go ahead and turn it over to the ladies from the job store. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. We're very excited to be here. So I just wanted to kind of hand it over to Kylie and Andrea to kind of give us a brief introduction about what we're going to be talking about today, and a little brief overview of who we are and what Job Store has been doing. So.
All right. Well, yes, thank you everyone for joining us today, and thank you for having us. We're really excited to really just go over some interview tips, resume tips. Maddie is our social media guru, and she's going to be sharing some really good tips on social media, kind of how to brand yourself. So again, we're really excited to be here and connect with everyone. So for those of you who aren't familiar or too familiar with Job Store, just to give you a little bit of a background on Job Store, we were established in 1974. We are a women-owned company and one of the largest independently owned staffing companies here in Colorado. We specialize in finding the best talent and leading companies to help your career or organization thrive. And we hire for all different types of positions. So we feel like that's kind of something that makes us unique. We do everything from accounting to customer service roles, office type roles, production, and even warehouse. And we do this by being very relationship driven for both of our associates and clients. We have 4 different locations. We have our Denver office, which is our corporate office, our Colorado Springs branch, which is where I work out of, and then Broomfield and Aurora. So that's just a little bit about Job Store. And also throughout our presentation, at the end of each presentation, we're going to ask a question, and make sure in the chat function to put in your answer. The person that does answer first, we do have some special prizes that we will announce at the end of our presentation. And again, my name's Andrea Richter. I am the recruiting manager out of our Springs office. I have been with Job Store for a little over 5 years, and I've had the privilege of working out of 3 out of our 4 offices. And here in the Springs, kind of like I was saying before, we really do it all: accounting, admin, warehouse, production. But I love being able to connect with people and really help them, solidify their next career opportunity. It's just very exciting. It's new every single day. And then just on a personal level, I love the outdoors, hiking, fishing, camping, anything like that.
Awesome.
Maddie?
Yep, I apologize. I was putting myself on mute. Hi, everybody. My name is Maddie. I just wanted to come back on here and introduce myself. So I have been with JobStore for about a year and a half now. I'm going on 2 years here in September. However, I have been in the digital media and social media marketing industry for just about 7.5 years now. I was dabbling in it in high school throughout some of my college, or I'm sorry, with some of my courses and whatnot, and found that it was a pure passion of mine. And then when I found the JobStore, I found my family. So I'm super excited to be able to present a little bit today on a little bit of my knowledge, what I have found to be, for lack of better words, the best practices on how to brand yourself in front of employers, in front of your coworkers, in front of your friends and family, and to really put your best foot forward when you are going through this process and post-process of job search. So I will hand it over to Kylie.
Thanks, Maddie. I just want to say this turnout is awesome. It's so excited to see so many ladies on here today. So I've been with the JobStore for 5 years now, almost 5 years. It seems like yesterday I just started. I enjoy working for this company. Seriously, Julie is one of the best bosses I've ever had. So she's awesome. And so I really am an on-site manager for one of our larger clients. And so I manage the whole hiring process for mid to entry level positions. It's been great. I've literally just moved up in this company. It's nice that I'm in part of an organization that can do that. I really started in kind of on the HR field just as a junior recruiter, and just over the years, just really expanded my skill set, my knowledge to be able to manage one of our largest clients. And so super excited about that. I'm actually going to go over resumes today once we get into that. And I think a lot of times we get scared of resumes and we don't know how to start. So we're definitely going to give you some tips and tricks on how to successfully put one together. A little bit about myself. I'm definitely not from Colorado, but I now call it my home. I moved here from Missouri about 5 years ago with my husband. So yeah, it's been great. We enjoy hiking. We enjoy just honestly just hanging around. I think every day is a good day in Colorado because it's mostly sunny. So, but yeah, we'll kind of get started with everything, and I'll hand it over to Maddie as she gets started with our social media.
Awesome. Thanks, Kylie. Okay, so I am not sure if everybody is familiar with social media, so I'm going to do kind of a brief overview. So what you're seeing in front of you right now are the big four, what we call it in our industry. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter are some of the major platforms that people like to connect with others on. Social media was created initially to connect with friends and family that are long distance or in another state, or to share photos or little memories and snippets, so it doesn't feel like you're so far away from others. However, it has transformed into a very powerful tool where you're able to not only link with businesses and review them and see how others are reacting to their services, but also you are able to position yourself in front of those brands as a reliable source, or a way to review others and review products and whatnot. And that's what you have seen with influencers if you're watching people on Instagram or on Facebook. However, with LinkedIn and Twitter, they are more targeted towards your professional brand. So a little bit later, I'll dive into how LinkedIn can be your digital resume. However, I just want to start with, those just quick four. Facebook is more meant for just those photos and connecting. Instagram is really for sharing everyday snippets of your life rather than just those big moments in albums. LinkedIn is for connecting professionally with employers and your coworkers, and really engaging in thought-provoking conversations. It's not to say that you can't do it on other platforms, but it seems to be more present on LinkedIn. And then Twitter, a lot of it is just quick thoughts, engagement with other politicians, celebrities, and things like that. However, I have seen people having a little bit of dialogue on there as well, but not so much on as the other platforms. But it is really important to keep in mind that while you may think that your social media presence is private, it is actually not. And unfortunately, I want to bring attention to this before employers see some maybe not so great posts or engagement on other platforms that you have that may be unflattering at the time. So that kind of leads me into my next thing. What can employers see? And what is your digital footprint? So your digital footprint is information about a particular person that exists on the internet as a result of their online activity. That can be your search history, that can be any examples of your posts that are online right now. It can be a variety of things. And that is kind of like when you're walking through a fresh pile of snow and you see your footprint behind you, those things never really go away until they melt. Well, the great thing about snow is that it melts. The bad thing about the internet, it doesn't go away. So your digital presence, it includes content that you can control. So if you have a website or if you have social media platforms or profiles, you are posting things like a selfie of yourself or a picture of a birthday party that you went to. That is just what you're showing online and how you're presenting yourself. So if you walk into an interview dressed with tattered clothing and whatnot, that is going to be the first impression. However, the great thing about Dress for Success is they have set that up where you're able to have these types of resources to dress in a different manner and elevate your style so that your first impression is not of that clothing. And the great thing about that is that your presence is now elevated. So what I'm hopefully able to provide you today is elevating your digital presence, not just your physical presence. And the difference between the two is footprint tracks what you search and how you interact online, and your presence is how you post and display. While they seem the same, they're quite different. And employers can actually see both of those. So I definitely want to remind everyone that once it's on the internet, it is truly on there forever. So just because you may have deleted a post or you have hidden your privacy settings or your profile from the internet, it does not mean that it goes away. So even though that deleted post is gone, somebody may have taken a screenshot and shared it elsewhere. The internet also tracks cookies, and these cookies show how you interact online to display more powerful ads that you might want to interact with more so. So if you engaged with somebody about this great, beautiful red top that they're wearing, next thing that you'll probably see online is a list of ads showing these great red tops, all sorts of great things. So the internet is very powerful in that way. And so the reason why they track the footprint in your digital presence is to be able to display those ads online. However, employers now have access to that same type of information. So what I really want to urge you is how you post online. So here's a kind of rough overview about what to post, what not to post. So a lot of things that people look for is the true meaning of social media and the reason why it was developed. So post about those milestones, those birthdays, the holidays, any career development. Did you get a job promotion? Anything like that. If you did community service or any community outreach, post about it, share about it. Those are great memories that employers, one, love to see that you're really involved with your community, but also you're doing good in your community and can make you feel better and show that you're providing a positive impact into your community. Also, go back to positive recommendations. Local businesses right now, especially during COVID, are definitely needing not only grace, but the positive support from their community. So if you're posting online, I definitely urge you to think twice about a negative review. While it may be helpful if it is such a negative experience, it does display online for your employer. So if you are writing a negative review, I urge you to leave out the cuss words or leave out any derogatory terms and whatnot, or controversial topics like hate speech and whatnot for these reviews specifically, because they can see that. And that kind of leads into the do not post If you're posting about violence or hate speech or controversial topics, nudity, expletives, and anything that you really don't want your employer or your grandma to see, you probably shouldn't post it. That isn't to go without saying that you don't have a right to post about whatever you want. However, it is just a warning that your employer can see these, and putting your best foot forward online is the same thing that you're doing when you walk into an interview. They do have that access to these types of material and this online presence that you have. So branding yourself as somebody that is super involved in the community, extremely excited about those milestones, and their friends and family will position you in a better light. So definitely don't post any crazy stuff if you're able to. And that kind of moves into the LinkedIn digital resume piece. So when you're on LinkedIn, and if you haven't already started a LinkedIn profile for yourself, or you've kind of put it on the back burner, here's kind of a quick overview of what to post and things that are trending right now to really show that you're serious about getting into a position. So if you want to take a quick screenshot, I definitely think that this is a good quick tidbit, but I'll go over it really quickly. So having a clear photo of your face, and if you're not able to get professional headshots of yourself done, that is okay, but at least showing your face, not with others, will be able to identify you when you're connecting with others. It's not to say that that will never come down or you can't change that, because it's just like Facebook. You are able to interchange those if you ever have a professional headshot or an updated headshot of yourself. This is just something that leaving it blank will make you unrecognizable to others. When you move into the professional tagline, you can talk about some of your experience that you have in a short amount of space. So think of it kind of as an elevator pitch, but more condensed. And if you actually don't have any experience at the time or transitioning into a new industry, usually using the hashtag open to new opportunities in the blank industry or field can be really powerful. This hashtag is actually going around on LinkedIn quite a bit, especially since the COVID pandemic had set in last year. They have been utilizing this to find candidates that are looking for opportunities, and recruiters actually have been looking for that when they do post jobs on LinkedIn. So if you're looking for something, or if you're looking to transition, I definitely recommend doing this. But if you already are in a position, talk about what you're doing. Just say, I'm a digital marketer in blank and blank field, or with JobStore. Whatever applies to you, I definitely recommend filling that out. The more complete your profile looks, the better. When you move into the work history, it's very similar to your resume. So having your employer name, your job title, a summary of your daily duties and the dates of employment will show that you not only have experience in that field, or you're looking to transition out of it. It's, again, just your digital resume. But when you are doing a summary of your daily duties, do only about 3 to 4 bullet points max. You don't need to go over every nitty-gritty detail, but being able to summarize them quickly. So when a recruiter or an employer is looking for it, they'll be able to see that. And then on the 4th bullet, for your resume, you can actually attach a PDF version of your resume and feature it at the top. So if you are actively looking for those new opportunities or those positions, having that readily available puts you one step further in that process, so that people are able to already take a look at that, or your employers are able to take a look at that. And then the 5th is skills and endorsements. So coworkers or bosses or people that you have worked with in nonprofits or organizations can endorse you for your skills that you already have. So time management, clerical work, leadership, I mean, the list can go on and on. And the more that you add and the more endorsements that you can get from credible sources, the better it looks. It's just a more complete version of your digital resume. And so then that way, when people are looking for you online, it just presents this whole filled out form about here's me, here's who I am, this is what I'm involved in, this is what I've been doing in the past, here's what I'm looking to do moving forward, or I'm happy where I'm at, but let's connect and let's collaborate online. LinkedIn can be used as a platform post interview process, and it can be used during the interview process and pre-interview process. So really updating that as your work experiences change is key. And then right before we go into resume tips, I did have a question for a prize. And so that question is, comes from that last slide, but we won't go back. So if you are posting on LinkedIn, or actually any platform, should you post about controversial topics? And don't unmute yourself, just put it in the chat button right now. Okay, awesome. We will announce the winner of each of these prizes towards the end, but thank you everyone for answering. They will be kind of quick like this as we keep moving through. So I will be handing it back on over.
Thanks, Maddie. That was awesome. So I'm going to take over this part and just kind of really talk about resumes. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes resumes can be intimidating. So resumes really just kind of explain your whole work history. And you're like, how do I get that on paper? So I'm really just going to go over like 13 tips that I have seen. And keep in mind, there's probably about 1,000 different ways you can make a resume. And these are just the most common tips and recommendations that I see over the last 5 years that I've spent really in the recruiting workforce. And so I just really want to help you achieve your goals and just kind of help present your resume the best you can. Because really, if you have a good resume, you're going to stand out amongst the other applicants. And I do want to pinpoint that the resume I'm talking about is going to be like a paper application, so to say. So it's going to be I'm going to talk about a different resume compared to what Maddie talked about to your digital resume on LinkedIn. So just keep that in mind as well. And so one of the best things I would say first is make your resume pleasing to the eye. We want it to look great. So obviously no crazy colors, no crazy formats, but just easy and very clear to read. There are a lot of great websites that help you build a great resume template. I did put one on here. It's the resumenow.com. It generates a whole bunch of resume templates for you, and it keeps it very clear and easy to read like I recommended. Another great thing is you want to learn how to orient your resume to the job you're applying for. And I always say that, and the best trick is that when you're applying for a job, you're like, I have all these skill sets, I'm excited for this job, and you want to apply for it. The best thing to do is compare your job description from the resume the job description from the posting, and compare it to your current resume. And just kind of determine, like, do the qualifications and the requirements for this job, do they match what my resume says? And what's great about that is you can compare it. And so if you're like, oh, I have this experience, but I don't have it on your resume, put it on your resume, because what's going to happen is the employer that's reviewing that, they're looking for those key things. So put that on your resume. But please be truthful about it. Don't put things on the resume from the job description you don't actually have experience in, because like myself, I will ask you about it. So just you would have to be prepared to answer those questions. And then another big thing is make sure you also include for your position that orient it to the job you're applying for. So if you're applying for an accounting job, but you have some warehouse experience, sometimes that may not be necessary to put that warehouse experience on the resume. Just keep it to accounting, because sometimes it can get confusing for why that experience is on your resume. So the next thing is to determine, do I use paragraphs or bullet points? So never use paragraphs. They're very hard to read. When I see paragraphs on a resume, I actually look over it, because it's, like I said, it's not clear and it's not easy to read. And so we want to be able to help you. So I'm doing you a favor and the interview a favor to help keep your resume very clear to read. So use bullet points. So you should use between 5 to 10 bullet point sentences per job description for what you do or what you did do. And I always recommend using active words for your current position and past tense for your previous positions. So when you're updating your resume for your job descriptions, a current example could be, I update customer order sheets with new logistics for data daily. And then maybe for past tense, you can say, I called a minimum of 50 new customers a day about our direct TV services. And so using that current for the position you're currently in, and then obviously using past tense for those, starting those bullet pointed sentences for your job descriptions. Another great thing is strengthen your resume. And I see this all the time on resumes where there's really no meat to that. And I'll explain that is where you have job duties on there, but it doesn't clearly say like what you did for that job. There's a really great tool. It's called ONET Online. It's an online platform, and you can literally go into this website, type in any job, and it will give you the job descriptions and the duties for that job. And so I recommend using that as a tool. And so for an example, let's just say you work in the warehouse and you know that you just move boxes. Well, moving boxes really probably isn't the best job description. You want to make it meaty. You want to have strength to that sentence. And so you can use it as move new product stock to and from storage areas. That helps strengthen your resume so the interviewer has a better understanding of what you did for that position. Like I said, this gives a rich meaning and better clarity when reviewing your resume. So another thing I really look at is skill sections. Sometimes I think we have a misconception of skill sections on resumes. They should really apply to job skills. So I see this often where skills are really just kind of fluff to your resume. You can add a whole section with 20 different skill sets that you add, but it doesn't necessarily pertain to how it adds value to that position. For example, I see this quite often. I'm a hard worker. I'm a multitasker. Well, those don't really clarify a lot about your job and what you did. So for example, like if you were a photographer, some great skill sets you definitely want on your resume for an employer would be like Adobe Editor or Adobe Lightroom or Photoshop. So those are skills that can be added into your job description. And so just making sure when you see those skill sections, use those for actual skills you've had on the job. Also, keep it, show your accomplishments. Yeah, so accomplishments. So accomplishments, certifications. This section, I feel like it's overlooked a lot. And so make sure you put that on your resume. If you have great accomplishments, if you have certifications on your that you have under your belt, make sure to put on your resume. Some good ones are like awards, or it's going to be like product launches that you helped your company with. Maybe it's how much you grew your sales department within the organization that you worked for. Maybe you won the Nobel Prize. I don't know. Maybe you did something that was outstanding. And so you want the other person that is looking at your resume to also see that and be like, wow, I really want to interview this person because they have some great skill sets and awards that I would really like to have a part of my team. Another thing is keep your resume relevant with your work history. Sometimes not every job needs to be listed. So right now, let's just say you're an assistant manager, but you're also doing Uber on the side or maybe Instacart. Sometimes that side job doesn't need to be on there. Sometimes though, if it's applicable to the job you're applying for, definitely put that on there. But just know sometimes it can just be all over the place if you're seeing a job here, a job there, a job here. It's very unclear sometimes. And again, the goal is to make it clear and easy to read. And I always say a rule of measure with your work history, keep it a 10-year max. That's great. Anything over that, probably not as relevant, or you've had enough experience since then, you may not have to put it on your resume. And usually by that point, if you're in an interview, what's going to happen is it's going to come up in the actual interview between you and the interviewer. Another key thing is be careful with your personal information. I see this often. Again, this is very different from like the digital footprint that Maddie was talking about, because we live in a totally different age, and it's very important just to learn how to keep your information safe. And so when you're posting your resume out there to multiple platforms, you're really, like Maddie said, you can't get it back. So a few key things I recommend is sometimes your home address doesn't actually need to be on there. Just keep it to your city and the state. Like, we don't need to know what block you live on. We just need to know, like, are you in maybe a certain area or a certain state? So keep that safe. Also, I know there are certain platforms like Indeed that they have safety settings. And so if you're posting your resume onto a platform like Indeed, you can actually request that if employers are interested in reviewing your resume, you can request them to have access to that personal information. So that's up to you. That's another safety precaution I do see quite often on recruiting platforms. Another big thing, and you'd be probably surprised, I will say this, but do not put your social security number on your resume. I have actually seen this happen often, and it's very scary. So keep that off your resume. And then also, photos are no-nos on your resume. Again, this is very different than your digital resume that Maddie was talking about. And the biggest thing that I say that is when you're submitting your resume, let's just say there's 100 different applicants in it. The thing is, if your photo's on there, it could lead to discrimination. Honestly, yes, that is sad to say, but it could happen. And so we want to give you an equal playing field through all the other applicants. So just be aware of that. And then also what's going to happen is if an employer really wants to move forward with you, they're going to interview, they're looking and they're serious about sitting down and talking with you, then they're going to take that step to really look probably into your more your social media footprints to determine if they really want to sit down with you. So go ahead and give your leg up for that one. Then also your resume length. Keep it ideally to 1 page, but 2 pages max. If, you know, I'm the type of person, I've had 10-page resumes. I don't even look at that resume. I just send it to the side because it's a lot. And like I said, it's not probably relevant. There's probably a lot of skill sections that's not maybe should be on there. So keep it to very concise. I'm okay with viewing 2-page resumes. I know some people say 1. I think it depends on the interviewer, but they making your job descriptions with strength and being able to concise, that's really what you're going to be looking for. And again, how you're going to stand apart from other people. Another big thing, point 11, it says proofread and proofread again. You can see the meme on the side. It says, let's eat grandma or let's eat grandma. So it's very important how you determine with your grammar and your punctuation. So just pay attention to that. It also shows attention to detail. I see that quite often as well. Also, don't overload with college experience. So I usually see this more for people who just got out of college. They really want to fluff up their resume. Again, fluff isn't always the best thing to do. Now, it's good to put relevant experience that, again, pertains to the job and how you would contribute to that company. But things like all the clubs, all your GPAs, all your awards, all your honors classes and your sports teams and everything you're affiliated with probably isn't the best thing to put on your resume. And then the last thing I'm going to cover is your cover letter. I'm going to keep this pretty brief because I think the most confusing part of cover letters is the body part of the cover letter. And really the body of your cover letter should be composed of 3 paragraphs. And so that first paragraph is going to be, why are you applying to this job? And then how did you find the job? So those are usually 2 things. The second body is going to be, what do you have to offer the employer? How will your skills better that company? And then the third thing is with closing remarks and follow-up information and thanking the person reviewing your resume is important. So like I said, a good resume will help you stand apart amongst the other applicants. So believe it or not, sometimes we just get so like, no one is calling you back. Let's work on your resume first so we can help you with that. This is an example of a cover letter. Again, I just kind of briefly threw it over there so you can have an idea of, again, what those 3 body for the paragraphs will look like. And I do have this cited on there, so that's a great resource that you can use to kind of give you an idea of how you can better your cover letter. This is now an example of what to do and what not to do. So obviously the one on the left, like, it's crazy. The format's everywhere. I think at the bottom it says accomplishments, was that he earned Xbox achievement points. I wouldn't care about that. You shouldn't put that in your resume. And then also the professional experience, there's like no job descriptions. There's nothing, there's no details. The one to the right is a little bit more clear. It's concise. I can see they work for this company, that they did this job. The bullet pointed everything I need to know about that position, and you can see it very clearly. And so again, just being able to work on that. Some job searching tips. So you're like, okay, I have my resume, but where do I put it? Where do I submit my resume? I would say LinkedIn is a very credible source that a lot of people are using these days. I mean, it was, I think, advertised on NFL, the Super Bowl for Indeed. So great place to start. You can type in jobs that you're looking for in a specific area and skill sets. Another very great credible platform to use is ZipRecruiter, LinkedIn, and Glassdoor. Those are great to use. My favorite thing to do is I tell people, research companies that you actually want to work for. You like their values, you like everything that they talk about and what they do, and then go to their website and apply for those positions. And then good social platforms to use are like Facebook and Craigslist. Craigslist is still a thing. You will find jobs on there. So just be careful when you're looking, but there's legitimate postings on there. So yeah, that's kind of my section. So get your chat boxes ready because I'm about to give you the question to answer. And so with that, how relevant should you keep your resume? Da-dun-dun. You guys can go. Awesome. So while those are coming in, like I said, we're going to kind of wrap those up at the end to kind of see who put in the correct answers for the awesome prizes we have. But now I'm going to turn it over to Andrea. So we helped you with your resume. We got you that interview. Andrea's going to help you ace that interview.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Kylie. So like Kylie said, once you have created your perfect resume, you've solidified the job interview, I'm now going to talk about some interview tips and what I'm going to call the do's and the don'ts for your interview. So first, I'm going to start on some tips on the do's. And first and foremost, we all know that interviews are naturally really nerve-wracking, but just keep in mind that, it's just another conversation. The person that is interviewing you is probably just as nervous as you are. They are, probably nervous about asking the right questions. They're trying to find the right candidate to fill their spot. So again, just kind of keep that in mind. Nerves are natural, but just relax, take a deep breath, be yourself, be honest. And, if it works out, great, but don't let the nerves get the best of you. So the first tip is to always dress for the position. Generally, a job interview does call for you to wear professional or business attire. So for a woman, this would be maybe like a blouse and a dress or dress pants. But smart casual is also really popular right now. So smart casual are even like nice jeans, some nice shoes, and a nice blouse. So again, it's really kind of dressing for the part, but it's always, safer to dress up than dress down. It's your first impression, and it's important, it sticks. The second tip, bring 2 copies of your resume. The interviewer will most likely already have a copy of your resume, but having 2 copies printed out, one for you and one for the interviewer, will show that you went the extra mile to be prepared for your interview. And you can always even use your resume in front of you to reference off of during your interview if needed. The second, when meeting the interviewer, give a firm handshake. A handshake is definitely way more than just grabbing and shaking each other's hands. It can say a lot about a person's confidence, intention, control, fear, intimidation. And it honestly can even show a lack of respect if you give like a little flimsy handshake. We've all felt those before. So again, a nice firm handshake, it really shows confidence and that you are ready for your interview. Also, providing good eye contact, so important. A big factor in how well your interview is your nonverbal communication. So this includes your eye contact. Appropriate eye contact speaks to confidence and self-esteem, which is an important asset in any employee. So I know it can be awkward to sit there and look that person in the eye the whole time, but just looking around or looking at the ground, it kind of shows like a lack of interest. So again, good eye contact is really important. Be prepared for the most common questions. And when I say this, I mean questions that are asked all the time, such as, tell me about yourself. This seems to stump people, but when you hear this question, think of it equaling as why you are a good fit for the position. So it's okay to include a few personal details, such as, you love doing things outdoors, like I had mentioned earlier, but make sure you highlight on any academic and professional achievements. This will engage the interviewer from the start of the interview and let them see why from the beginning you are a strong candidate for this position that you are interviewing for. Some other popular or really common questions: where do you see yourself in 5 years? This question, it can be tricky as the interviewer is really trying to see if the position you're interviewing for is a long-term career goal for you. So just an example, I kind of threw it together, and make sure you answer in a complete sentence too. So for example, over the next few years, I want to explore and develop skills in project management or whatever position you're interviewing for. In 5 years, I want to have gained experience in leading projects for major clients. I will be looking for opportunities to expand my responsibilities within this role to work towards my goal. So again, you're incorporating, the position that you're applying for and showing them that you do have an interest in being with the company you're interviewing for long-term. Another popular one: what are your strengths and your weaknesses? So I'm just going to touch on weaknesses. Make sure you answer, make sure you don't answer with something like, I tend to have a hard time being on time. Even if it's true, just don't say that. You want to answer, so when asked about your weaknesses, focus on being self-aware, honest, and dedicated to improvement. If you answer this question showing these 3 qualities, you won't ruin your chances of landing the job. So an example of how to answer, tell me about one of your biggest weaknesses, you could say something along the lines of, I struggle with organization. While it hasn't ever impacted my performance, I've noticed my messy desk and cluttered inbox nonetheless could interfere with my efficiency. Over time, I've learned to set aside time to organize my physical and digital space, and I've seen it improve my efficiency levels throughout the week. So again, it's being honest, but it's showing that you have worked on some self-development and acquiring new skills to help strengthen that weakness. All right, and then behavioral questions. These are really popular, or just outside of the normal questions, but really important to prepare for these types of questions. So behavioral interview questions are questions that focus on how you've handled different work situations in the past to reveal your personality, abilities, and skills. So for each answer, give the interviewer the background to the story briefly, specific actions you took, and the results that you achieved from that. So, for example, some of these questions, they're usually open-ended, and they start with something like, tell me about a time, or give me an example. So, give me an example of a time you had a conflict while working on a team, and how did you handle that? Or give me an example of a time you did not meet a client's expectations. What happened and how did you attempt to rectify the situation? So a really useful acronym that you can use to keep in the back of your head while you're answering these questions is STAR. So it's also referred to as the STAR method. So the S stands for situation. It describes the scene and relevant details. Task, it describes your role in the situation. A is for action. Explain how you addressed the situation and what steps you took to overcome the challenge. A good answer shows how you've added value to the situation and made logical decisions. And then R is for results. At the end, explain the outcome of the situation. A quality answer includes concrete examples and quantifiable achievements. This also explains the direct effects of your efforts. So just kind of putting together an example, more specific example of a behavioral question and, kind of how to use that STAR method to answer that. So if the interviewer was to ask you, tell me about a time when you had when you had to be very strategic in order to meet all of your top priorities. So again, thinking about that STAR method for the S, situation. In my previous sales role, I was put in charge of the transfers to an entirely new customer relationship management system, or a CRM, on top of handling my daily sales and responsibilities. Next is T for task. The goal was to have the migration to the new CRM database completed by Q3 without letting any of my own sales numbers slip below my targets. And then you're going to talk about the action for A. In order to do that, I had to be very careful about how I managed all of my time. So I blocked off an hour each day on my calendar to dedicate solely to the CRM migration. During that time, I worked on transferring the data, as well as cleaning out old contacts and updating outdated information. Doing this gave me enough time to chip away at the project while still handling my normal task. And then lastly, you're going to talk about the result. As a result, the transfer was completed 2 weeks ahead of deadline, and I finished the quarter 10% ahead of my sales goals. So that's just an example of, how to answer those behavioral questions. Again, giving kind of the whole spectrum, the situation, the task at hand, and then the results that you achieved. These questions are just, becoming more and more common. So just, do your research on the job and think of any kind of behavioral questions that they may throw at you. You want to feel prepared. Do your research on the company. That's my next tip. Check out the page, the company's page. Look at the about section, look at their products, their mission statement, their core values, and try to incorporate some of this information during your interview. This shows again, you've prepared yourself for the interview, and it will really impress the interviewer. And a website that I love to use, even when I'm thinking of my own interview questions to ask candidates, is www.jobinterviewquestions.com. And you can put in any job title in there, and it will come up with a list of example interview questions that are related to that specific job. So that is just a really good, tool to use in helping you prepare or think of questions that you may be asked. All right, and then moving on to some questions that you always want to have questions prepared for your interviewer. So if they say, do you have any questions for me? Don't ever say no. You want to, that just kind of shows that you're not engaged. So ask questions that will help you make a more informed decision about the position, while also showing the interviewer that you are, really serious about the job. So some, questions that you can ask are questions that will help you find out more about the company. So some examples: what are the company's core values? Can you describe the company's culture? And what are the long-term goals of the company? This is going to really, help you dive deeper into the company and really see if, their values, their mission and everything, their long-term goals align with yours. And I think that's really important because, again, they're not just interviewing you, you are interviewing them as well. So keep that in mind. And then you're also going to, want to ask questions for the interviewer. What do you like most about working here? If you could change or improve anything, what would it be? This is going to give you some insight on what the person you're interviewing with thinks about the company, which I think is really important. And then some follow-up questions that are kind of, more geared towards you. And one of my favorites is, do you have any hesitations about my qualifications for this position? And it will probably put them on the spot right there, and might be kind of, awkward for them, but it will kind of allow you to, if they do have any hesitations about any of your qualifications, it's something that you can address right then and there, which actually could potentially land you the job. And then finally, always end the conversation by asking about the timeline for the hiring decision. This will ensure that you have a schedule for your follow-up communication, reinforcing your interest in the job. So you can ask, what is the next steps in the hiring process? If I am offered the job, when would you like me to start? Again, it just shows you're very interested, you're eager, you're available. So, moving on, questions not to ask. You don't want to ask questions, what are the job duties of this position? You should know that ahead of time. You should have, reviewed the job description. So a question like that may show that you aren't prepared or really even know exactly what you're interviewing for. Instead, you can maybe ask something along the lines of, what does a typical day look like in this role? So that I feel like is a little bit more appropriate than just what are the job duties. Also, when it comes to like salary, it's not that you can never ever ask about how much a job pays. It's typically considered a no, like a no during the very first initial interview. So if they do ask you, they may ask you, what are your salary expectations? Then of course it's appropriate to answer. But if they don't mention salary, you don't want to be the one to mention it first. This is something that you can usually talk about post-job offer. The same with benefits. You don't want to ask too many questions, if really any, about benefits until you have that job offer. That's, where the negotiation comes into play with your salary and the benefits. And then don't ask the interviewer personal questions. Like, are you married? Do you have any kids? It's just not relevant and it's really not appropriate. So just avoid those personal questions as well. All right. And then going on to the don'ts for some interview tips. So don't be late. It's kind of common sense, but happens all the time. Don't be late or excessively early. 10 minutes, 10, maybe 15 minutes at most before your interview, I think is appropriate. If you are running late because of traffic, obviously things happen that are out of your control, but pick up the phone and call them and let them know, like, hey, I just got stuck in this crazy accident. Don't wait to show up, to let them know when you show up to your interview why you were late. Be proactive, and just that communication is so important from the beginning. Don't fudge the truth. Given all the pressure during an interview, you may feel pressure to lie about certain topics, such as your education, accomplishments, what you were previously paid, what you love to do, whether you were fired or not. These are all things that will most likely be uncovered if offered the position, or the interviewer may be able to call your bluff during the interview, which would most likely disqualify you, right then and there. So just be honest and be true to yourself. Don't be negative, kind of self-explanatory, but don't be negative. Don't ever put down your prior management, even if that is the reason you left a job. Instead, you could respond in a way such as, I resigned from my last position because I wanted to work in an environment that supported my professional goals. That goes back to not being negative, looking at it in more of a positive way. Don't have your phone visible. That happens more times than not, even setting it right by you. Just don't do that. Put it in your purse, leave it in your car. Even if it's on silent, I've had, phones buzzing on silent, which is a big distraction. So don't even have it visible, or if you have it in your purse, just maybe even turn it off completely. Don't chew gum. Seems kind of silly, but another one that happens so often. And it's it's often an honest mistake, but it's a huge distraction for, both you and your interviewer. You're chomping away at that gum. It's like all I can look at. So make sure to spit that gum out ahead of time. Slouching kind of goes back into that nonverbal communication. Posture or poor posture, it can make you look even lazy or disinterested. So, and then even like bowing forward too much can appear to be aggressive and goes back again to that important nonverbal communication. So just stand up, sit up straight and be positive. So, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some virtual interview tips. So I think now more than ever, virtual interviews are so common, because of COVID. We've had so many employers have had to adjust how they're interviewing and going from in-person interviews to virtual interviews. So I'm just going to briefly touch on some, basic virtual interview tips. So Zoom interviews put, virtual distance between you and the hiring manager, making it easy for you to forget, that you still need to make a really good great first impression. You will always want to put your best foot forward, even if it's a virtual footprint or virtual foot. Prepare your interview space. So you don't have to have a living room of office-worthy HGTV, but you want to choose your location wisely. So pick an area of your home it's clutter-free, and make sure to test the lighting ahead of time so that you don't end up being too backlit or too dark, which my lighting, oddly enough, is not the best. But and then triple check your start times and sign in early. With a virtual interview, there's really no excuse to be late. Triple check your start time. Again, log in early. And then let's see. And then, if it's different, make sure you check different time zones. That can happen. So double check those time zones as well to make sure you are logging on at the right time. And again, early. Ask for quiet. Quiet is really difficult to achieve right now if you live with other people, especially children. So, and hiring managers, we all understand that, we're doing virtual interviews. It's hard to get away from that noise and that chaos. And we understand that, but, do your best to try to control that background noise. If possible, send your housemates or your family outdoors or on an errand while you're interviewing. The less distractions, obviously, the better. Get fully dressed. Even though it's a virtual interview, you still want to get dressed as if you're going in for an in-person interview. You've seen memes of people who dress from the waist up on a Zoom call, but their sweatpants or worse were shown on camera the entire time. So still just make sure, to dress for the part, even though it's virtual. Put on the whole entire professional outfit. This will save you the potential of embarrassment and put your professional frame in mind. I feel like if you dress for the part, you're gonna feel good and you're gonna feel ready for the interview, despite it being virtual. Don't get flustered if your tech fails. We understand this might happen. So if the connection does become unstable, just shake it off. Don't let it get you too flustered. Keep going, or even offer to call in, just via phone. This kind of shows that you can control yourself and not get too flustered when things don't go the way that they're supposed to. And that you can recover from minor setbacks. Speak slowly, loudly, and clearly. When you're nervous, it is really easy to start talking really, really fast. But just remember to take a deep breath. And again, slow, clear, and concise. Place maybe even like a sticky note on your computer to remind you to project and speak slowly and clearly. Don't forget there can be a slight lag in the computer audio. So don't get nervous if it does take the interviewer a few seconds to respond. But that sums up my interview tips, my do's, my don'ts, the virtual aspect of everything. So I'm going to jump into my question for another prize that we're going to be giving away. So my question for you is, should you ask questions at the end of your interview related to salary and or benefits?
No.
All right. And a lot of people coming in. So
No.
Andrea, it looks like you muted yourself on accident.
oh, I wasn't muted the whole time, right?
No.
Okay. Like you wait now to tell me? No.
No.
Perfect. All right. Well, yeah, that kind of sums up my do's and my don'ts. And I hope you guys could take a little bit away from it, even if it's one or two tips.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrea. Well, we have just a few minutes to answer some questions that we had in the chat box, and then we will announce the prizes and their winners. So I'm gonna pick a few and then we will start to answer them, any left over, in an email later on afterwards. So the first question that we got, and this is for Kylie, how would you explain gaps in employment on your resume during an interview? So it's kind of a multi-pronged approach. Andrea.
Yeah, that's great. And I would love to hear Andrea's feedback to this too. And so from the resume side of that, like I said, these are just tips that I see most common on resumes. And so for the employment gap, like I said, you want to orient your resume to the job you're applying for. But obviously if there's a huge gap of employment, like 5, 6, even a year, sometimes you want to be able to fill that in. And so, like I said, keep it relevant to the job you're applying for, but let's just say you had to get into a position and the only job you could do was just say an admin assistant, but you're really looking to get to a buying position for a buyer. Obviously, it's good to keep that on there to kind of show some solidness to your resume to strengthen it. But like I said, that if there's a lot of employment gaps, then I would say, again, review that because you want to make it pretty concise. But once you're in an interview, it's actually quite easy to explain that. And so I hear that quite often where maybe a new mom, she wants to come back to work. She's been out of work for a year, maybe, 2 years, and she has that gap. And I just asked a question. I was like, and I will say, hey, I was like, I see that in, the last 2 years you kind of had off of work. Yeah, kind of fill me in what was going on. And then you're able to kind of explain that side of it. Now, when you're just going out and people looking at resumes, like I said, it's pretty easy to explain, but put in relevant experience. But it's also sometimes necessary to have a job in place. So go ahead and put that in there. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I don't know if I would add much more to what Kylie said. A resume is ultimately, the first impression. And when you see a big employment gap, it can be a little alarming. But like Kylie said, explain yourself during your interview. I've had so many, moms or, people that had to take time away from work to care for a family member. In a way, you can still even put that on your resume, as a caregiver. But maybe even put that in your cover letter, just a brief explanation on what you're doing between your last job and now. But I don't know if I can explain it better than Kylie. So that's what I would say.
Awesome. Thank you. I do have another question for you, Andrea, and it says, are we shaking hands due to COVID?
No, I actually did have someone in the office, come straight towards me just last week and shake my hand. That was the first handshake I've had in a long time. felt really weird. But, I think it's just kind of the new norm right now to really not give handshakes, maybe an elbow bump, or a good smiling with your eyes, because you have the mask on a lot. But I mean, I think it's right now better to be safe than ever, or important to be safe. So I don't know. I don't know. What do you think, Kylie, about the handshakes? I mean, I don't think
I would
we're
say
doing them.
no. At this moment, I think it's just safe to say no one's really doing that. And so what I do is, like, even if you're meeting someone in public, I think for like an interview too, we kind of all have those social cues, like, do we handshake, do we not handshake? And the best thing I would say is just like wave, say, hi, I'm Kylie. Nice to meet you. And just go ahead and take that initial step and smize. Like Andrea said, your eyes and your smile say a lot.
Yes, or I have seen, and while I'm not a recruiter, I have just seen this, just a head nod, just acknowledging that they're there. So any nonverbal contact I think is good. And then one last question before we move on to prizes, because we are running a little over time, but we want to get through some of these awesome questions. If your interview is short, does it mean that it wasn't successful?
Everyone interviews so different. And some interviewers, like, they have a couple questions that they ask at every single candidate, and some are short and sweet, some are extremely long. So just because it's short doesn't mean you didn't get the job. That's probably just their interview style, honestly.
Awesome.
I would agree to that. I think that is very accurate.
Perfect. Okay, well, thank you for the questions. We will be going through the chat box and answering the remaining questions. So get those questions in right now if you have them, and then we will go through them post presentation. And then the very last thing is one of the more fun parts is the prizes. So we had a couple of questions, and my question earlier was, should you post about controversial topics? The answer was no. And a lot of you got that right, and it was right away. And the winner of that question, and who answered first, was Amber Schwab. So congratulations. You won. You will be getting a professional social media audit and rebuild from me. So I will provide my contact information, and let's get in touch very soon. I'll be going over kind of your LinkedIn, your Facebook, Instagram, and what other platforms that you may have. And I'll give you recommendations, help you rebuild. And then our next winner is Shelly Ortiz. And that was question about how relevant should you keep your resume? So 10 years was the correct answer, and you were the first person to answer, so congratulations. We are offering a resume refresh or rebuild. So if you don't already have a resume right now, we will help you build a very professional resume with one of our recruiters. If you currently do have one, we will refresh that for you with industry standards and things that we're seeing so that we can position you in the best light. And then the third was, should you ask questions at the end of your interview related to salary and or benefits? The answer to that was no. And the winner, or the first person to answer, was Bernadette McClare. So congratulations, you did win a Google Home Mini. We will be providing contact information to you ladies on how to obtain your prizes post presentation. So stay tuned for that and get those questions in. And thank you all for attending. We really appreciate you being here. We hope that you were able to get some value out of this presentation.
Wonderful. Wow. I am so impressed. You ladies did an amazing job. Thank you so much. You were able to fit like a ton of information in a beautiful, concise way. Thank you so much for that. That was excellent. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, absolutely. And so ladies, now it's time to do some announcements. So I'll have Amra, if you can, yes, thank you. All right. Okay, so we are continuing with our monthly yoga and meditation, with meditation being led with Kelly Arnold and the yoga with Sheila. If you would like to join us, it's going to be this Thursday, or the first Thursday of the month, sorry, March 4th at 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. The invitation will likely go out tomorrow, hopefully. But I mean, this is an amazing hour that we get to spend together. It's completely free and it is getting rave reviews. So if you ladies haven't tried it, please join us on Thursday so that we can all try to regain some of that sanity we're losing with COVID. Okay, next slide. All right, so I've been getting a lot of emails about the coupons. So let me, about the clothing coupons. So one, a few weeks ago, I had a major suiting event on a Saturday that took care of the coupons that were earned from December and January and the first week of February. Those are done. Okay, now if you attended the October meeting last year, you still have your $20 gift certificate that we will honor as soon as we have a sale. So that is still there, that hasn't gone anywhere. Now, for this particular suiting event, it's going to be for the Skills Global on February 17th and the PWG that happened today, just now. So we are going to have 2 days in which you can do that. The first one will be on Tuesday, March 2nd from 5 to 7, and on March 6th from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. Okay, and there are some rules to this. If we can have the next slide. So please, you all did a fabulous job last time in arriving 5 minutes before your appointment time and lining up outside the door. You will still have your half hour to shop. If you arrive late, keep in mind that that does cut into your appointment time, and it will be less than half an hour. So you must wear your mask, keep your nose and mouth covered at all times. When your half hour is up, you still have to leave. And so whatever goodies you have, those are the ones you will exit with. You will be able to choose from still the Victoria's Secret items, the shoes, and the clothing. No handbags or accessories or cosmetics. And there will be no trying on of the clothes due to the COVID. All right. And so we will have a sign up going hopefully by the end of this week for your appointments. Okay, yes, we talked about that. Whoop. Okay, yeah, we talked about that one. If we can have the next one. Okay, so this one, your hour, her power. Okay, so we have had some ladies getting some people already to donate. So as you may already know, March next month is the International Women's Day. And so in Dress for Success, we serve all who identify as female. So we're taking the month, not just the day. It's International Women's Month for us. And what we are trying to do is to have people who are able to donate an hour of their pay to Dress for Success to help and empower, us, ourselves, our ladies, right? So if you feel that you're in a financial position to be able to do this, we greatly appreciate it. If you are not, please ask friends, maybe there's someone in your life that can do it. It really, any little bit helps. There's no amount too small. And of course, there's no amount too big. Okay, the next one. And the Lean In Circle. So this month we kicked off the first group. So for all of you ladies who attended the one that we rolled out this month. That is your group. You are part of the Lean In Circle #1, okay? And that is your group. No one else. If you didn't attend and you're signed up to attend that one, you can no longer go into that group, because the group is closed after that first meeting, so that you all have the same experience, bonding experience, and no one has to catch up on anything. Now, if you are interested in joining one of these Lean In Circles, the next one, so this would be for group #2. You are currently eligible to sign up if you would like to join this group. It will be from 6:30 to 7:30 every third Tuesday of the month. These groups are amazing. A lot of great things happen. This is a support group. This is where you go and you discuss, well, this is going on at work, I don't know how to handle, or maybe you are thinking of asking for a raise, and you let your group know, and then the following month the group will ask you, did you ask for that raise? So it's a wonderful way to keep us accountable, right? And maybe they'll give us some tips on how we can ask for a raise and things like that. But this is an encouragement group. This is a safe space to have fun and to bond with other women, so that we truly start seeing each other as sisters and not competition. So there are 164 countries around the world. Thousands of these leaning circles are popping up all over the place. If this sounds interesting for you, please go ahead and join. I've been sending out the notice for this, but it will appear again in the next email I send out. And the next one is the Capital One Financial Education classes. Woohoo! We love those classes. The classes, however, will start on March 15th that week from 12 to 2. At this moment, Capital One has not quite let us know which day is going to be the Denver meeting day. So as soon as I have that, I will roll that out, but that is coming. So make sure you let us know if you are interested. And one thing that I did forget to mention, Amara, if you can roll me back into the suiting page, please, thank you. We will also have a photographer on these 2 days for your suiting. I apologize, I forgot to mention this. So we have a professional photographer that can take your picture on either the Tuesday, March 2nd and on March 6th. So if you're interested in getting your picture taken, a professional photograph, so that you can put on your LinkedIn, which, we were told we have to have a nice picture on there, right, Madeline? Please let me know. I will send that out, that sign up as well. It's free for you. You do have to come with your makeup and your hair done. All righty. And I think that does it for our announcements. Yes, any questions from anyone? Let's see, we're actually lead us out.
Absolutely. I want to thank everyone for joining our meeting. I want to thank the job store. Can we get snaps or hand claps or whatever we can get? Thank you so much for supporting Dress for Success. Ladies, you did a fantastic job. I want to thank everyone for spending the evening with us. We love seeing your wonderful faces. And let's do our PWG mission out statement. And so I'll let Gloria lead that. Let's go ahead and get off mute and everybody can say it at the same time. So Gloria, you want to lead the out statement?
All right, we go forth with confidence, courage, and belief in ourselves. Woohoo!
Thank you.